Hey guys, welcome back to Brian's Garage. Today we're working on a 2004 to 2010 Audi A8 with adaptive headlamps. This headlamp is aimed to the left and it will not correct to the right. Now these are the headlamps that actually move as you steer the car. So we're going to take this apart, try to fix it. These cost used $300 to $500. If you have a dealer replacement, you're talking about $1,200 or more. So let's save some money today. Here's the headlamp removed. As you look right here, you can see that this swivel light has pointed this way and it's stuck. We'll start by taking off the front bumper cover. First you need to remove this, this little cover piece. You can snap it out of place, set that aside. Pretty easy then. You only have 5 T25 Torx bolts to remove. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So take those 5 out, set those aside. I found that access to the bumper cover bolts is a lot easier with the tire removed. So I took out the front left tire, got access now to the fender liner. I can take that out and I'll have access to the 3 bumper cover bolts right there. Unscrew 2 T25 Torx bolts right there, or screws right there. You may have some others down below as well. My bottom engine skirt is off right now, so it's a little bit easier to work on this. That's 1 and then 2 right there. Then I lift the inner fender well liner out to get access to my bumper cover bolts right there. 1, 2, 3. To unbolt the front bumper cover, you'll need a 10mm deep socket on an extension, and you can get access to the 3 bolts. This is right inside the fender well here. You've got 1 up there. I'm sorry, there's 1 up there. There's 2. You can see them right up top there. There's 1, there's 2, and there's a 3rd one that's a little tricky to get to. It's much further in, but you can actually access it pretty easily by taking out the front fog light. So we'll do that next. To remove the fog lamp cover, you just need to understand how it works. It's pretty simple. There are 6 tabs, and you just pry them down carefully. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right there. I've got an extra one here to give you an idea what it looks like. So these are the tabs we're prying from the inside or the outside. You work them down like this, and then same thing on the bottom. You just pry those right there and right there. So these little tabs are what keep it clipped in place. Once you can pop those free, it'll pop right out. Then you only have 3 screws on the fog light. 1, 2, 3. They are Torx T25s. Take those 3 out, and then the fog lamp comes right out too. Then you've got access to that 3rd screw in the bottom of the fender well that holds the bumper cover in place. Two, and the 3rd one. Okay, they're all loose now. And now all we have to do is pop this down a little bit over here, and the bumper cover should slide right out. We just need to move it a couple inches, enough to get access to the T30 Torx bolts down below here. There's 2 of them. That's plenty enough. And from this angle, you can really see how those 3 bolts stick right through into the screws that come in from the inside of the fender well. To remove the headlamp, there are 5 T30 Torx screws which need to come out. One's a little tricky in the back, which you can see down below there. And then there's 2 right up on top, which makes sense, here and here. Then you have 2 right down below, a little tougher to see. And those ones are right there and right there. To remove the headlamp, it's important to understand how the harness connector works. So the best way to reach it is from right behind the light bulb itself, right in front of the power steering reservoir. But this harness, if you look at it carefully here, you need to put a screwdriver up underneath it, and then this little spring release is here. So just give it a little twist. But again, you have to reach in down below from the back, and then it goes up underneath the little harness plug. Twist this a little bit, and you should be able to pull it out or pull the headlamp straight out. Looking at the back of the headlight, we're going to remove the little push tabs here and bring our door down so we can look inside. I've already moved the igniter ballast to the back of the light bulb is right here, and this is what plugs into that. Looking inside the headlamp assembly, you'll see that a lot of the wiring has pieces of the insulation that is cracked or broken away. These things are notorious for that. Look at this one here, it's really bad. But in addition to that, there's some other wires that just become brittle, especially when the motors are moving here, to make this headlamp adjust and swivel. So that's where I found the issue here. In order to find your problem, you may need to move your headlamp left and right a little bit. And to do so, if you can get to this wheel right here and just push that or pull it, it will make your headlamp rotate a little bit so that you get better access to the wiring that may have problems. And indeed, I did find my problem. I found this broken wire right down here. The headlamp assembly swiveled left and right a million times. Eventually, this dried out, cracked, broke, and now I have a adaptive headlamp light on my dash that needs to go away, and have a light that doesn't work. So I'm going to measure inside the headlamp itself, and I can tell the wiring harness is about 4 inches in, so I'm going to measure about 3 inches back and 5 inches. That should cover the entire space that I need to get access to. I won't have enough space inside the back of this lamp here to reach that wiring to solder it back together, so I'm going to make a cut through the bottom and very carefully save that piece and put it back together when I'm done. So I've flipped over the assembly. This is the bottom right here. We know that that harness is about 4 inches in from the end, so I've made that a line here. I've drawn a line at 3 inches and at 5 inches, and I know that harness runs right across through here, right in the middle. So if I cut this little box out, I should have access to that harness just fine. So I'm going to take my Dremel tool, and I'm going to cut this square out, this access panel on the back underside of the headlamp, so I have access to that wiring harness that runs across here. Being super careful not to cut through too deep and nick that wiring harness. Okay, so I've completed cutting through. Just a note, if I were to redo this again, I would have cut a little bit higher here, so I don't have to deal with this notch as much. It would have been a lot easier to make a cut. I did not cut through all the way on the left side, just left it as a door so I can hinge it over, and then I'm going to glue this back together and caulk it once I'm done. But yeah, inside, here's my wire. So I'm going to need to solder that back together or put a little jumper piece of wire in there to make that connection good again. Okay, I've cleared away the insulation off the wire here and off the one up here. It's going to be a pretty tight job to do, so I'm definitely going to have to use a little piece of jumper wire to make this work. So I've prepared this little piece of jumper wire, and hopefully this should do the trick. Okay, so I completed my awful soldering job from this wire here to this spot down here. You see this little jumper piece I put in there. Try to wrap around the other cables too so that it offers some strength to it. Okay, here's your headlamp ballast that needs to come out. But what you need to understand too, when you go to reinsert this, Audi made it so that these little prongs here go with 4 little slots inside the back of the bulb. Now, it's important to know too that once this clicks in, then you can put this power wire back into it. But it's been engineered so that you cannot put the cord in first, the power wire into the back of the igniter ballast, until it's actually snapped in place first. So we'll do that first. Okay, the ballast is now in. I put it in and I twisted it till it clicked into place. It takes a little bit of a push inward while you're twisting it as well. And then simply just take the wire here and plug it into the top of the igniter, and that should connect it again. Now you can close the back access panel door, locking the 2 locking tabs on top. Okay, and then it's time to fix our access panel on the bottom. Now that my broken wire is soldered back together, I'm going to close that up. But before I do, I bought some liquid tape, and I'm going to actually just tape over that soldered joint to make sure that there's no short circuits. Also, there's some other cracked wires in there that I'm going to do the same on too. I'm going to cover those up too, just to cover those cracks so I don't have any short circuits. I found a slew of other wires behind the access panel that had cracks in them too, so I'm going to use that liquid tape on these as well too, but there are some that look just awful. So all these are sources of electrical shorts. I'll cover those up too. Just putting some epoxy on the corners here. Hold this access panel back together, and then I'll put some caulk on the rest of the cuts just to seal it up, keep the water out. And it's sealed. And that's it. The installation of the headlamp and bumper are exactly the reverse of the removal. I just checked mine out, and the adaptive headlamp warning light is gone. Good luck. I hope the same works for you.